right, that is what we're starting with today on Sunrise Daily. And Mr. Caleb Mutfwang joins us now. He is the governor-elect of Plateau State. He joins us virtually to talk about some of the build-up that occurred, the events surrounding the victory, and what is going on now. So good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Thank you for having me on.
Well, I mean, when we spoke to you, you did say that, yes, indeed, you were going to go ahead and clinch this. But in terms of how the elections panned out, the contest amongst your contestants and probably how the electorate felt about it, was it what you saw coming?
We saw it coming, Chamberlain. It was the people of Plateau State were yearning for true change. Plateau has been akin to a wilderness of some sort, and people were looking forward to some refreshing change. And so, as we traversed the length and breadth of the state, we discovered that people truly were desirous of this change. All they wanted to be sure was that if they voted for us, their votes would count. And we assured them that we had confidence in the electoral process. And at the end of the day, we were proved right. Because I must salute the courage of the INEC staff on the Plateau, who stood their ground and ensured that the due process of law was followed.
How are you handling immediate post-victory now? Because we saw in the country how on the larger scale, even in some other states, lots of division. Probably we don't know how deep these things have gone, but in Plateau State as well, of course, those who voted for other political parties, chances are that they may still be hurting and may not necessarily want to queue behind or support you to govern the state moving forward. How are you reaching out to ensure that you handle all of those and it doesn't go deep into the fabric of Plateau State?
I'm glad to tell you that the spontaneous breakout of joy on the Plateau is unprecedented, and people across faith, across party lines, broke out in celebration in every nook and cranny of the state, and I mean it. Perhaps we'll gather some of the clips I've sent to you. And even the candidate of the Labour Party has reached out with his congratulatory message, which has gone viral. One of the former governors of the state, who was initially not in our support, also reached out to congratulate me. And I think there's a build-up in that direction. Of course, it's normal when people lose elections to hurt, but we're reaching out to all we need to reach out to. And I can assure you that for me, that's not a problem at all. I am doing my best to ensure that we bring everybody on board. As I said in my acceptance speech, I'm not going to be the governor of a few, I'm going to be the governor of all. And I mean what I say, and I'm going to actually walk the talk.
But at the moment, the APC candidate, the entire way, says he's not happy with what transpired. He didn't speak glowingly of INEC, and he says they are bent on ensuring they reclaim this mandate, and it wasn't free and fair as people thought.
Like I said, it's normal when somebody loses election to look for reasons why he lost. But I'm sure very soon my colleague, my brother, will see that actually this process was more transparent than he would ever think. If there are infractions, probably the infractions could have even gone in his favor. But I can tell you that the will of the people was insurmountable.
So, I mean, this is remarkable that you say so, because I think for a number of people, what they have been focusing on, or when they say those kinds of things, what they maybe are referring to is the process. So perhaps indeed, I mean, maybe indeed the PDP was very popular, and you as a person, because we also understand that in these elections it wasn't really about the party, it was about the people, and that's why you see that in some instances, some parties will do well at presidential, and at the state level, another party entirely does better, and that's because the people are looking at the people, not the party. But I just want to ask you about the process. So for you, how would you, because a lot of people have criticized the process in many areas, would you say that in Plateau State, your experience was different?
Honestly, in Plateau State, our experience was quite different because I know that the INEC staff came under a lot of undue pressure. Now, it is not easy for an opposition party to triumph over a ruling party. And you would know that in terms of resources, in terms of influence, the ruling party would certainly have more. But the sheer will and resolute determination of the INEC staff in key respects, I wouldn't say that it was all perfect. Certainly we had concerns in certain areas. In some local governments, there were actual steps that were taken that you could say were a breach of the process. And we know those areas. I don't want to talk about them because we might end up in court, and I would want to keep those as my joker. But I can tell you that by and large, the entire process was sufficiently successful. In certain respects, in all, Maupe, you see that the PDP has been consistent ab initio. In the presidential election, yes, the Labour candidate did well, but in the National Assembly elections, PDP had the majority of votes. And that's why today we have 2 senators elect, 5 out of 8 House of Reps members elect. That tells you the acceptance of the PDP on the plateau. So it was not surprising. I am honored, I am humbled that I can be considered popular. But I think beyond that, there is something that that influences the collective thinking of the Plateau people. There's a Plateau dream, which perhaps we, at this moment, best approximate. And I think people keyed into our vision, people bought our message, and that's why today we have majority in the House of Assembly, and I have also emerged as governor-elect. So I think for me, it speaks volumes of the direction that Plateau people had long desired to go, and finally they have an opportunity, and the process afforded them this opportunity to be able to turn the direction they have long desired.
Well, it is noteworthy that you praise the INEC officials who handled the elections in Plateau State. Are there any other areas where you would like INEC to improve on the process? I mean, I understand that you don't want to talk about the breaches that you observed, but are there areas where, going forward, I know there's introduction of technology, the beavers, the IREV, etc., but are there areas where you look in our forthcoming elections, the next elections, you would want INEC to, look there to see how they can forestall anything that you might have noticed?
Absolutely, Maupe. It has been proved that the beavers machine is not foul-proof, and in many instances it was bypassed, and then results were still accepted. Now, the elections take place in stages. When there are breaches at the polling unit, coming to the ward collection, up to the LGA collection, the hands of the people at the upper level is tied. And therefore, in our case, we even had stolen beavers machines. Elections were conducted, and the machines were stolen. The results were not turned in. And these are things that we must be able to deal with. I think we still have a long way to go. The certainty that the process is objective and everyone can rely on it is still not there. So you find that the people have to be keeping touch with the officials, like we say in Nigeria, bumper to bumper, to get things done. And so we need to be able to ensure the integrity of the process, so that once you lose an election, you can go home knowing that, look, the process was fair and this is what the people voted for. At the moment, I'm not sure we can say that with certainty.
So what would you say what is the key thing that you want to focus on for Plateau?
Key things, my agenda is about peace and prosperity. Peace because, as you know, Plateau has been under this barrage of attacks in the last 20 years plus. A lot of instability, insecurity, insurgency, and banditry, a lot of criminality going on in the state. We need to be able to put an end to that or reduce it to the barest minimum, so that our people can go about their lives without fear. Secondly, we need to lift our people out of poverty. The NBS, National Bureau of Statistics, Poverty Index shows that Plateau State is perhaps number 26 among the 36 states. It's bad. We do not need to be in that position. We need to lift our people out of poverty. And it is when we do that that we can be able to have the requisite income to be able to finance education, finance healthcare, finance youth empowerment, women empowerment, and so on and so forth. I believe that the expectation of the people of Plateau State is that we will change their narratives and be able to make life better for them.
Lagos.
Right, Chamberlain, thank you. Well, I think it needs to be researched, and just on a lighter note, you're a lawyer, and the outgoing governor is also a lawyer, so it looks like the people of Plateau have a thing for lawyers. But staying with that security issue, I wonder if how you will go about this, because a lot of people have said that the reason these attacks come up again is because there isn't adequate prosecution deterrent for those who are found culpable. You're a legal practitioner, and I wonder how you will approach that. I know this outgoing government had this peace building agency and some other things that were done to try to achieve peace, but how would you tackle that big question of ensuring justice is done, proper deterrent is put in place, so we don't keep having this heinous attacks time and again?
I can't remember anyone who was prosecuted for insurgency or banditry. It looks like everybody wants to turn the blind eye. And that's why the media was sold a gullible story about farmers' herders clash, for example. A lot of these were not clashes. They were simply criminal activities, and they need to be labeled so and dealt with adequately. I can assure you we'll be strong on the rule of law. But besides that, we need to go back to basics. We need to get to the grassroots and be able to build structures from the grassroots that people can be able to solve their problems at those levels, nip crisis in the bud, build intra and inter-community relations, and ensure that we build trust. So some of the walls and barriers we have erected over years that have created fear and disharmony, we need to dismantle them. How do we do that? We need to be seen as being fair and just, as being equitable and inclusive. We need to give everybody a sense of belonging. For the security architecture, we need to build it from the grassroots as well, the vigilante groups, the hunters group, some kind of community policing. But going from there, we had a head start in Plateau State with a security agency called Operation Rainbow, long before Amotekun and the rest came on board. Unfortunately, it has been allowed to lie fallow. And we're going to bring it back on board and make sure that we demonstrate that the lives of our people matter to us. We're going to demonstrate empathy. Even these federal security agencies, I believe a lot can be done by deploying our man management skills to ensure that they perform optimally. We're going to give them the right incentives. There's a lot of disgruntling on ground, I can assure you. They feel uncared for. They feel no one really, their lives also do not matter. And therefore, we're going to show empathy towards them as well and ensure that we get value for whatever we deploy in terms of security. So it's going to be a multifaceted approach. But I can tell you that we are going to summon the political will to cause a change in that direction.
I'd also like to know if you'll be continuing with the Plateau Peace Building Agency. First, do you think it has done good work in terms of achieving peace? And I wonder if you'll be continuing with it or you have another plan entirely.
I need to be adequately briefed on the successes of the agency. And whatever it is, I believe they probably have gained some mileage. But we need to look at how to strengthen it and ensure that it performs better. Like I told you, it's not just about having an agency. I think if there's a way that we can cascade the role of that agency down to the grassroots and make sure that people take ownership of the process itself, right from the grassroots, I think we'll be able to achieve better results. Of course, you need an agency like that to coordinate those activities, but we must mainstream these peace-building initiatives down to the local governments and ensure that every structure of authority at the grassroots takes ownership of this process. And I think that will yield better dividends.
Still on your resolve to ensure that there is inclusion, a sense of inclusion on the plateau, which is one of the charge given to you by the former governor who congratulated you. I'm just interested in the specifics because at the heart of the conflict on the plateau is dispute for agricultural land, contention of a political authority and the religion factor. But what are the specific, strategies that you have in place to settle the indigenship-settler conflict on the plateau?
Again, this indigenous-settler conflict is one of the narratives that I like to change. I don't think there's a conflict between indigenes and settlers in the real sense of it. Is a dummy sold to the media. I grew up on the plateau, and I grew up knowing that there were people who were not of plateau origin that lived successfully, lived peacefully with their neighbors. They had land to farm, and they thrived. Now, the question at the end of the day is where we do the lines of authority are blurred. When you get to a point where you are able to cross those lines, we need to define those boundaries very well. I know that many non-plateau communities exist on the plateau, but they are not in contention with the natives. They are not in contention with the natives. So why is it peculiar to some people? We need to look at the root cause of it. Are there motives behind just settling to be able to make a living? We need to probe into those issues. Now, but going beyond that, I am a Christian, and there's no doubt about that. But my Christianity does not teach me to discriminate against people. And I'm going to, therefore, I've always extended my hand of fellowship to my Muslim brothers. I want to make them feel comfortable, make them feel that, look, they are also stakeholders in the Plateau project. And we're able to come along together. Now, in terms of also even the ethnic nationalities of Plateau origin, and which we have about 54 of them, everyone complains of marginalization. And so we need to look into it. What are the causes of this marginalization? Some of it has to do with appointments in the past, where people have talked about a culture of nepotism. We need to break that vicious cycle of nepotism and ensure that there's objectivity even in our appointments. Everybody has equal opportunity to be able to lay claim to his stakeholder status on the plateau. Even the non-indigenous, we need to bring them on board. Some of them are 3-4 generations down the line. They can't go anywhere. They do not know anywhere else. We need to reassure them that they are part of the Plateau project. And in our appointments, we're going to reflect this diversity in the hope that we can give people confidence that they can trust us. That, again, is very key. Trusting the leadership is key to building trust across society. And we intend to show to everyone that we can be fair, we can be just, we can be equitable in every dimension. And so going forward, I believe some of the specific details will unveil them. And
we hope that your assurances in words and actions will bring about enduring peace on the plateau. Well, my colleague would say that the elections have come, but have certainly not gone. So I'd like to take you back briefly. The opposition is challenging your victory, and they say they will do much more than that and go to court. They're specifically citing reports from the election about low voter turnout, and are wondering why and how the electoral umpire was able to supply in pronouncing the results quite a number of votes. They're specifically saying that in Tudunwada Kabong ward, to be precise, the number of registered voters is 3,144, but accredited voters was just 500 in number. And why, as a result, did the electoral umpire announce quite a number of votes in the pronouncement of results? So what do you have to say about this?
I'm not sure you got those statistics well. Tudunwada Kabong Federal Ward is one of the largest wards in the entire country. You can get over 100,000 votes there. I watched one of the video clips of my brother on the other side, which talked about probably votes being escalated in my local government and in Jos South local government. And I think if he avails himself the benefit of history, he will realize that actually the vote margins we got in those local governments were lower than expected. Historically, we've always had much higher votes. I give you an instance. When I was chairman, when I contested and won election as chairman of Mangu local government, where I come from, the vote margin was 78,000 plus. In my election as governor, the vote margin was barely 51,000. So it's come lower. And I want to tell you on my honor, on my integrity, that we did not plan and we did not contemplate in any way inflating the figures. We couldn't have. We didn't have the machinery. We didn't have the opportunity. We didn't even have the mentality to do so. We wanted to win fair and square. And that is what happened.
Oh, just as you wind down, just one more thing. While you were campaigning in Bassa local government in January, you told the people that you will hit the ground running, and that I think the PDP had made mistakes in the past. You were going to correct it. So they will be looking to ensure that that happens. So are you reassuring them on this platform here and now that yes, you will hit the ground running, and probably by the first 100 days, what should they expect then?
Thank you. I like to avoid chambling the 100 days trap, but let me assure you we'll hit the ground running. Part of our program of activities for this transition period is the finalization of our policy documents, which have been work in progress since October last year. We have a group of technical experts that have been working on our policy thrust on our governance documents in various fields. We'll be fine-tuning them, I believe, in the next 1 month or thereabout, so that we can be able to reduce them to actionable plans, both in the immediate, in the short, in the medium, and in the long term. What I can promise the Plateau people who will not be idle, will hit the ground running.
All right, it's good to hear that again, because we will keep a close watch on those policies and hold you accountable on behalf of Plateau people, because we want peace there, just as we will do to every state, every country, the presidency, everywhere, and whatever needs to be done, because we need peace above all else in this country. We thank you for talking to us, Mr. Caleb Mutfwang, Governor-elect of Plateau State, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, Chamberlain, Maupe and Co. and the Lagos crew. It's an honor to be with you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
We will be back in a moment. Stay with us.